and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stover. And Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan recently launched an industrial revolution plan and also the National Enterprise Development Program, NEDEP, aimed at ushering in a new era for industrial, micro, small and medium enterprises development in the country. Now, the President described the plan as the most ambitious and comprehensive roadmap that would transform the nation's industrial landscape, boost skills development, while noting that the Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan is the flagship industrialization program ever embarked upon by this country. The President stated also that the plan will fast-track industrialization, accelerate inclusive economic growth, transform Nigeria's business environment, and stop the drain on the country's foreign reserves caused by the importation of what can be produced locally. Now, the goal of the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan is to increase the contribution of the manufacturing sector to the GDP from the present 4% to more than 10% over the next 5 years. This will boost the annual revenue earnings of the Nigerian manufacturers by up to 5 trillion naira per annum. On the National Enterprise Development Program, the President said it would help to reposition the micro, small and medium enterprises as the major driver for the job creation and inclusive economic growth, adding that the federal government will continue to promote patronage of made-in-Nigeria products through the implementation of its local patronage policies and programs. Now, what does this portend for the development of small and medium enterprises, the local industries and manufacturers? Now, how about access to funds? What can make locally produced products attractive to Nigerians? And what about legislation to support these programs? These are some of the issues we'll be looking at tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to see this report by Aliu Kabir.
A survey conducted by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, and the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria's Maiden in 2010 show that Nigeria have about 17 million MSMEs, employing over 32 million people. Investigations further reveal that if each of these 17 million MSMEs employ more than one person, the sector will create an additional 17 million jobs, thereby reducing unemployment in the country to a bearable level, and this will make the country to attain her dream of inclusive economic growth. Towards achieving that, President Goodluck Jonathan, on the 11th of January this year, has launched the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan, NIPR, and the National Enterprise Development Program, NEDEP, with the aim of transforming the nation's industrial micro, small and medium enterprises development, as well as create jobs, boost skills development, and conserve foreign exchange.
In this stage of the Nigerian journey, we must strive to build legacies that will outlive us. All these countries are built on sustained improvement from one generation to the next. And I assure you all that this administration will leave worthy legacies for future generations of Nigeria.
The plan centered around critical sectors of development comprising agriculture and agro-products, metal and solid minerals, oil and gas, as well as construction and light manufacturing services. Regarding the sector as number 1 in Africa and the top 10 in the world, the President said NIRP will address all the major fiscal constraints bedeviling the industrialization in Nigeria, improve the nation's investment climate, and promote the patronage of locally made products.
First of all, there has to be a change in psychic. We have to become a country that produces what it consumes, because we can. That's the first thing. We cannot afford to spend $70 billion every year importing what we can produce in this country. That's the first message. We have the fact that we have 84 million hectares of land where everything can grow, the fact that we have 44 solid minerals in commercial quantity, 7th largest producer of crude oil, 8th largest reserve of gas, does not make Nigeria rich. It makes Nigeria have the potential to be rich. What makes Nigeria rich is the value addition. It's what you do. Those are the things that the Industrial Revolution now seeks to address. It has identified areas where we have competitive and comparative advantage, 15 subsectors across agro-industrial, solid mineral-related industries, and oil and gas-related industries.
It is expected that the plan will boost the contribution of manufacturing sector to the GDP from the present 4% to more than 10% over the next 5 years, as well as to enhance the nation's annual revenue earning of the Nigerian manufacturers by up to 5 trillion naira per annum.
I want to assure Mr. President that we are with you on this journey to industrialize our economy and bring prosperity to our nation.
With this launching, it means that, yes, the days of importing poverty and exporting jobs in our country are numbered.
There is no doubt that a nature and well-structured MSME can contribute significantly to the employment generation.
The NIRP and NEDEP will no doubt give additional impetus to the nation's transformation agenda by ensuring value addition, enterprise development, and industrialization. In Abuja, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me introduce you to our guests who will be looking at the issues here. I would like to welcome to this program Dr. Lateef Busari, who is Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council. He comes in representing the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Thanks for being with us here.
Thank you very much.
Let's also welcome Alhaji Bature Umar Masari, Director General, CEO of the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, SMEDAN. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We also have here tonight Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadir, a former presidential advisor on manufacturing in the Obasanjo administration. Thanks for being here tonight.
Pleased to be here.
And, well, also joining us tonight is one of our own who stepped aside some time ago. Wahid Olaguju is Executive Director of Business Development of the Bank of Industry. He comes in representing the Managing Director of the Bank of Industry. It's nice to see you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome home.
Thank you very much.
All right. And also we're joined tonight by Chief David Valentine Chukudi Obi, who is Chairman Motor Vehicle Manufacturers and Miscellaneous Assembly Group and Chairman Plastic Manufacturers Association, as well as a member of the Governing Board of the National Automotive Council. It's nice to have you join us tonight.
It's my pleasure being here.
All right, you've met our guests now. Let me just quickly say that at the appropriate time, the phone lines will be open, and that means you can join in the discussion here in the studio. You can call in, the numbers will be on your screen, and you'll have an opportunity to air your views, ask a question, or make a suggestion, or just comment generally, and our guests will respond to such issues as you might raise. Let me quickly add also that if you do get through at the appropriate time, turn down the volume of your TV set. That way we'll avoid the hurlback or the echoes. Once again, welcome to NTA Tuesday Live. Now let's start off by looking at this Industrial Revolution Plan and the National Enterprise Development Program, which was launched by the President a few days ago. What are the elements contained in this drawing plan?
Well, basically, the plan contains essential ingredients that first identifies the basic challenges that have bedeviled industrialization in Nigeria over the years. And then it also identifies the areas where Nigeria has comparative advantage to be able to quickly industrialize and nudge our economy away from the dependence on oil and gas into industrial value-added products that will create jobs, create wealth, diversify government earnings, diversify exports, substitute imports, and make the economy to be based on factors that we are better able to control.
Now this is also meant to expand the scope of micro, small and medium enterprises. Let's hear from the Director General of SMEDAN.
Exactly. In addition to what the ES Sugar Council said, the National Enterprise Development Program, which is another component of the Industrial Revolution Plan, is aimed at totally changing the landscape of the micro, small, and medium enterprises subsector of the nation's economy. For quite a long time, that particular subsector has been suffering, and that is why the present administration decided to look at it holistically with a view to espousing ideas, fresh ideas, and impetus in all perspectives, with the view to ensuring that the sector is given the needed boost. And that is why the NEDI program was introduced, so that every nook and cranny of the country can be covered under the NEDI program, and the ordinary Nigerian who has been having problems, particularly in accessing funding, government funding, and funding from other commercial institutions, is now afforded the opportunity to key into this program so that it can be guided by the government from beginning to the end, where he can be able to access funding to set up enterprises along the value chain line of products that are identifiable in every local government area in Nigeria. This is a program that is aimed at harnessing our potential, identifying where we have competitive and cooperative advantages in every local government in Nigeria, in every state in Nigeria, and support Nigerians to develop enterprises along the value chain line of those products. In so doing, we are contributing in rural industrialization and trying to create also linkages between micro, small, and medium enterprises and large enterprises all over the country. When that is totally achieved in Nigeria, we are definitely on the road to industrialization.
All right. Senator Ahmed Abdul Kadri, it'd be correct to say this is the first time I would see such a major industrial plan in the country.
Yes. Well, let me congratulate Mr. President for such a stride of trying to see how best we can industrialize this great country of ours. But we have some major obstacles ahead of us. First of all, a lot of bureaucracy is going to hinder this gigantic vision of the President if care is not taken. When you talk about funding, you're looking at Bank of Industry, you're looking at the commercial banks. I am not sure today if micro, small, and medium industries in this country can do benefit 5% of the total loans of the commercial banks in this country. Rather, the foreign investors, in quote, are those who are benefiting from all the loans today in the commercial banks, including the Bank of Industry. My brother is here. I don't want to make this, but I want to see how this thing can succeed. Today, every Nigerian is eager to see how he can become an entrepreneur. But believe me, no Nigerian can go to the bank and make any success of getting any loan, even if it is 10,000 naira. But if you can employ an Indian, Chinese, put him ahead, send him to those banks, any amount of money you want, you can get it without any collateral. That is what's happening today. And it's a sad story. And we want to succeed, and we want to become a great nation. This issue must be addressed. My fear today is somebody like Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, the governor of the central bank, if he cannot reform the banking sector and see how best the banking sector can really support the real sector, is about going. What happened next? We think he is somebody who is radical in his approach to things, yet he's not able to succeed. I doubt if anybody coming can really succeed in transforming and really succeeding in getting the banks to fund SMEs in this country. That's my guess.
All right. Concerns about access to funds, and good enough, Alhaji Waheed Olagunju is here. He's Executive Director of Business Development of the Bank of Industry. Let's hear from you.
Well, thank you very much, Cyril. I would like to correct a general impression that funding is the biggest obstacle to any venture. In fact, finance would always run after good ventures and good business proposals. The major challenge really is that many of us are not able to properly articulate the kind of businesses that we want to go into. That should be the starting point. Just as other members of the panel indicated earlier, we have 774 local governments in Nigeria. The Raw Materials Research and Development Council conducted a survey recently that was headed by a team, headed by the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, highly reputable Professor Bamiro. In that study, they were able to identify the raw materials located in each of the 774 local governments in this country. In other words, what they're trying to do is to tell Nigerians areas in which they have comparative advantages that could be efficiently converted into competitive advantage. And the underlying word there is efficiency. One of the factors that influence the location of industries is nearness to raw materials and, of course, proximity to market. You must know how to transform those raw materials, for example, into processed, finished or semi-finished goods. And that's where the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria comes in, as well as the Enterprise Development Center of the Central Bank. We have quite a number across the country, as well as the EDC of such institutions as the Pan-African University, or located in Pan-Atlantic University, I beg your pardon, located in Lagos, and of course the Lagos Business School. So they're essentially meant to enlighten members of the public on areas in which they can invest, areas of business where they can go into, not only the real sector, but of course including the service sector. And the starting point again is that you need to go into a business that you're interested in, that you're passionate about. No venture is made of a bed of roses, right? There are challenges. So it's only when you're passionate about the project, when you know about the project, when, in fact, before you go into any venture, you need to have it properly appraised. Because studies have shown that out of every 10 ventures that you go into, if they are well appraised, the chances of succeeding are much higher. In fact, up to 7 out of 10 could succeed if the projects are well appraised. In other words, the fact that the project is well appraised doesn't mean that it will not fail, but the chances are that it will succeed if it's well appraised. And conversely, if the projects are not well appraised, if they are not appraised at all, chances are that perhaps you will have only 30% success rate, only 3 out of 10. So when you go to a financial institution, you need to be able to demonstrate that you have a bankable proposal, and this is usually the starting point. You need to identify the opportunities, yes. Then what are the risks? You need to know the magnitude of the risks and how to de-risk the project as much as possible. You need to be able to convince the financial institution that you're able to make use of the credit. Because if a project fails, it's not only the financial institution that loses out, but then the promoter also loses out. Because in most cases, you invest your savings. Perhaps 30% of the investment comes from your savings, and perhaps 70% will come from debt. And it will take repeated failures before a financial can be affected. But one project failure could lead to the death of a promoter, because we've seen it happen. A number of people are unable to cope. So what are we trying to say? If the projects are well packaged, and that's where SMEDA and other agencies come up, funding shouldn't be much of a challenge. And we've demonstrated at the Bank of Industry, in partnership with about 18 state governments, we lend to cooperatives. In other words, close to 10 promoters can come together, they mutually guarantee one another. And we could lend perhaps 5 million naira to 10 of them, an average of 500,000 each, and we have them spread across the country. Under the first phase of NEDEP, as we showed in the video that was transmitted during the launch of NEDEP, in 2013 alone, we approved projects to the tune of 7.3 billion naira, about 600 of them across the country. And we in fact showed some of these promoters and the 6 geopolitical zones. And then we also had a check presentation ceremony that took place at the end. So we showed these people, so it's very real, that those at the bottom of the pyramids, those are underserved, can actually access funding, and they are actually accessing funding and financing through the state government, and through the Bank of Industrial Development.
All right, so you say this is working, and access to funding wouldn't stand in the way of this project. No, this time around. Okay, let's hear from Chief Chukudiobi.
What the BOI is saying that sounds very, very sweet. So for me anyway to hear, but issues are different from on the ground. That's why I want to thank NTA really for inviting me, because you can see that I am the odd man out in the sense. If this program succeeds, we have to benefit. If it fails, we will lose completely, because we invest our life in the whole industrialization efforts. That's why I feel really honored to have been given the opportunity to be part of this discussion. Now, I think that we should not underplay the issue of finance, and I'm happy that the senator brought this thing up early enough for us to know that this is the cardinal point. And I thank the president for really raising our hopes again, because some of us have already given up on the expectation that Nigeria will go forward in industrialization. Well, this is the president has put his own finger somewhere and said, look, I am for industrialization, and given the holistic approach to at least our Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment must be congratulated for his new role of championing this new drive. Let me explain one point about this finance issue, because for me and for us, I represent all the stakeholders in this issue of investment and those who are in the hot line of the whole thing. If the SMEs in particular are not funded, then there's no way forward. As the senator said, then only the multinationals also will benefit from the funds. And you cannot develop the grassroots without the SMEs, since they are the carriers of this whole project in their own little ways. And they contribute the most intensively in the creation of jobs and other things. If the condition for getting a loan is collateral, character, background of track record, and so forth, I wonder why in our system here, particularly by you, the BOI, and so forth. Or let me ask one question, which I hope Mr. Alagoji will answer later on. Are you a developmental bank or a commercial bank? These are things that government must establish and let us know. If you are a developmental bank, then they will have another pattern of operation instead of the way the commercial banks behave, because they say they don't want to lose the money of of investors, whatever. This is our money. Now I put money, particularly for the automotive now, because I'm more in the automotive and plastic than I am in other, so I can speak completely on that. If that money is given there to develop the auto industry, then why is it not being given out to stakeholders or those who are operating in that sector? Yes, they will say because people are not reliable. Fine. How much are we talking about? For this program to kick off, maybe $1 billion, 2 billion naira will be enough for starters, for people to start at the level of production, and then it will increase gradually. When I hear the amount of money, billions in dollars, that are being talked about every day, and they are missing in transport from NNPC to central bank, or some banks just filtered away in one form or the other. Sanusi was able to clean up a bit by dismissing certain directors and something. There was this 747 billion naira. Right. In the talk about the mismanagement of these funds. And were still existing. And then why are we then quarreling about providing a few naira for the auto industry or the fashion industry or the industry in general to start off? For the SMEs now, because I must speak for myself, like Madanians can always accept, as you rightly said, they can accept. Why can't we really think about it? And let me also say something. I told this story to MD recently, where when I started this auto business, I went to a bank and asked for a loan. I was asked to provide a collateral. I said, what is collateral? They said, that thing you leave, you put there so that if you fail to return the money, the bank will take it. I said, it's my head. The man said, I said, what do you mean? I said, my head is my collateral. He said, what happens then if you die? How can we get our money? I said, fine, go to God who took me to give you your money. But I assure you, if I survive, by the 31st of that year, December of that year, I'll pay it. And I did it. So, if character and antecedents or track record of somebody does not mean anything in Nigeria, it's unfortunate. But that's what is really what Nigeria is suffering from. Our ethics and our ethics and behavior. Yes. So I think the bank should please come back to that.
Okay, we have the Director General of SMEDAN here. Since we're going in that direction, and this is all about the micro, small, and medium enterprises, just give us an insight into the experience with the small and medium enterprises.
Thank you very much. Before I give you an insight into our experiences so far, I want to give an assurance. The NIRP and the NEDEP programs were initiated by the government. They were designed to succeed. We are not anticipating any failure in the implementation of these two very important programs because we know Nigeria for so long has been dying and crying for this type of programs. We have had so many other very lofty programs in the past which failed because of bureaucracy, as mentioned by the distinguished senator, or lack of access to finance, adequate finance. But this time around, all available mechanisms have been put in place so that the two programs can succeed and move the nation forward. And to ensure that it's achieved, the programs have taken adequate attention to all the major problems that may be developed and lead to failure. And contributors here have been talking about the problem of access to finance. Agreed, it is actually a challenge, but the government has looked at it holistically, and that is why the Bank of Industry was brought on board to ensure the implementation of the two very important programs. We know BOI alone cannot be able to provide funding to even SMEs alone, talk less of other large enterprises in the country. Other banks like the Bank of Agric, the SME funding, about 220 billion naira in the Central Bank of Nigeria is equally going to come in handy. And the minister has been reaching out to other commercial banks. We know, like the distinguished senator rightly pointed out, they are not too SME friendly in the country. But with the launching of the NEDEP and the NIRP last week by the president, they are beginning to have a rethink. And the feelings we are getting from the minister after his initial consultation with them is that they are going to key into the two programs so that they can be able to have proper bearing in every nook and cranny of our country. Okay. And to ensure that Nigerians key into the program, their sensibilities are being taken care of. We have gone into every low government area in Nigeria, realizing that it's only the SME that can provide the needed employment in the country, that can provide the needed wealth in the hands of individuals in the country, that can equally lead to a reduction in criminal activities in the country. We decided to ensure that every Nigerian, from the grassroots level, is taken on board the two programs.
Okay. Well, the calls have started coming in, and let's see if we can get this one that's coming in from Plateau. Go right ahead. I believe it's Isiak or so. Am I correct? If you're with us, go ahead. Okay, we can't get through on that. Fine. All right. Just you keep the calls coming through, and we'll take as many as we can, and, so we can have a broad spectrum of the issues that are here.
Yes, Cyril, let me come in here. The DG SMEDAN has a very, very big task ahead of him, because the challenge before him is an enormous one. The reason I have said that is he does not have money to give anybody. The best he can give is advice to the entrepreneurs who are really ready to go all out to achieve their dreams. Now, unless the government, through the Minister of Trade, Industry, Investment and Industry, or Investment Minister, has an MOU with these commercial banks, for these commercial banks to put a certain amount of their profits, even if they are putting just 5%, each bank is putting 5% for SMEs in this country, as maybe the barest minimum collateral that will be required, I can assure you, you will have a very big relief to start this SME project, at least at each senatorial zone, before it's graduated into the local governments. Because you find that these banks, the minimum these banks make, they're the lowest, with about 9-point-something billion profits. But most of these banks earn between 20 to 80 billion profits, which is a huge amount of money. Put 5 to 10% just for the SMEs, just like what is happening with the CBN trying to insist that certain amount of money is put into the agricultural sector. But even the agricultural sector, they have over 5 million applications for loan, less than 1,000 benefited.
Okay.
But that is not all. My greatest challenge is Bank of Industry. How can you now support SMEs by making sure that your 200% collateral is not going to hinder any project? Because that's what they have.
Okay. Haji Wahid Olagunju will respond to that in a moment. Let's see if we can get in Adoka, who's calling from River State. Adoka, if you're on, go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Presenter.
Yes.
That name is Udoka, U-D-O-K-A, not Adoka.
Okay, Udoka, we stand corrected. Thanks.
Yes. My question is directed to the gentleman from Bank of Industry. I've been participating in a lot of entrepreneurship programs from federal government, and it has not been really easy. But what the question I want to ask right now is, if I'm applying for a loan from Bank of Industry to run a professional, firm in the professional service industry, that's consultancy for oil and gas or other related services, are there provisions from Bank of Industry that can meet people in the professional sector? Because we've had experience to make application for UWI and several other enterprise programs, and they keep favoring more of the agro-like business without consideration of those the professional services and so on, consultants. So I want to know if there are specific areas or specific openings that Bank of Industry can favor for young enterprising people that have gotten some professional training both within and outside the country and are willing to come to provide consultancy services that companies within the country are outsourcing to companies outside the nation to meet that need.
All right.
Well, I'm not sure if I heard him clearly, but I have the impression that he has a consultancy firm, and he wants the Bank of Industry to finance his consultancy business.
Yes. So if there is any provision for that, because he talked about professionals in maybe oil and gas or related industries.
Well, that's talking about the service sector. Essentially, we finance value addition. Right. If he has a project that can help the oil and gas sector, because the value chain is quite extensive, if he can make a contribution, right, because there are a number of inputs that are required by the companies that operate in the oil and gas sector. If he can key himself into the value chain and produce any of the components that are required, particularly some of those that are currently being imported in the country, a number of them we believe we can produce locally, and that's why the local content issue comes in. And we have a whole institution set up to encourage the local content, growth of local content in the oil and gas sector. That's what I'll tell you for now. But it wasn't quite clear. I'll advise him to go to the nearest Bank of Industry office. We have one in Asaba for the state in the south, and then we also have one in Enugu. So depending on which is closest to him, let him go there and speak with my colleagues, and they'll be able to enlighten him better on how the Bank of Industry can assist him.
Okay. Well, let's return to Dr. Busari and even find out the starting point of NEDIP. So what are the starting points?
Well, I believe the DG Smedam will be in better position to answer. But I think, just like Wahid said the other time, you first have to look at your area of interest, see what you have passion for, and then after that maybe develop a business plan. And if you do that, then you visit them. Of course, there are anybody who wants to start a business knows he has to first register the business name or whatever, and then visit them at the Smedam. They'll be able to put them through, and that is the beauty about actually the NIRP, is that it's a holistic plan that tells everybody that wants to participate in the industrialization drive at whatever level you have, where you can key in to be able to fit in and be able to produce what you want to produce. It's such that if you are a small player, you go to the Smedam. If you are a big-time player, like we have in the sugar industry, there are places to go to start off. So I believe the important thing is to know what you have the passion for, what you believe you can produce. You have the comparative, like the business saying, comparative advantage to produce, and then get proper advice to be able to set up your business. And where you need finance, BOI is still there. I think we are, with due respect to other panelists, we are overemphasizing the role of finance in all this. There are a whole lot of other challenges that even when people get access to finance, if they do not have proper, ideas about what they want to do, even if they have the funds, at the end of the day, the business will collapse.
All right. Let's go to Jos and hear from Benjamin, who's calling in. Benjamin, go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to ask a question. All the panelists have established the fact that funding is a major constraint when it comes to SMEs and the development of industries in Nigeria. The question I want to ask is it not possible for us to do what we are doing for the universities, like through the Petroleum Intervention Fund, the TED Fund, and other programs like that? Can't we have a program where government makes it a law for oil companies and all blue chip companies operating in Nigeria set aside a certain percentage of their revenues that will be channeled towards funding SMEs in the country? Is that not a possible thing to do?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sure I guess we'll respond to that.
If I can stand before the,
yes.
you will have to answer that. But I think if you cast a mind back to history a little bit, government even did better than that. If you remember the days of government itself setting up industries, what happened to them? And that is why in all advanced economies and even emerging market economies, it's the private investors that will do this. Now, if they set up some fund and you are not prepared, so you do not prepare adequately, with all that you need to do before you go into business, you just have the fund there, you access it, it's going to be wasted. So I believe that it's to put things properly. Let business people, do their homework, and then it's talking about, getting the feasibility done. You take it to the bank. What the banks are doing is to ensure that once they put money down for this business, it's going to survive. Like Wahid said, if a business collapses, it will affect the bank, but it affects the person that actually puts his own money and its ideas down more. So I don't think it's the issue of government putting. The government has a lot of other sectors that it is funding, and the businesses are there, the banks are there. Yeah, the conditions are stiff, but they are stiff because they know that a lot of people are just out there. If government puts down the money, what is going to happen is that most people will probably see it as part of their own national cake and take it, and then, well, what happens to it?
All right.
Additionally, what the caller wanted to know is whether the government can be able to probably put in some form of taxes on big companies so that we can be able to support SME development in the country. There is currently an amendment bill to the Act establishing SMEDA as a federal government agency. And in the Amendment Act, which is being sponsored by Central Bank of Nigeria on behalf of SMEDA, we are looking at the possibility of probably introducing some levies that can be used in SME development. So to answer your question directly, government is looking into that direction with the view to ensuring that where applicable and it will not be seen to be outrageous, definitely whatever that needs to be done to ensure that taxes are put in place for SME development in the country and the development of areas of competitive and cooperative advantages is addressed squarely. And to go back to your question to the ES Sugar Council, on the starting point for NEDEP. The starting point for NEDEP is the ward level in the local government area. Before NEDEP was launched, before we started the implementation of the NEDEP program, we had a pilot study in Kano and Niger. We borrowed the idea from Japan. We went to Japan, and that was where we borrowed the idea of one village, one product. They used that idea to develop economically, and that is why Nigeria is adopting that same model. Because of our huge population, we decided that instead of making it one village, one product, to make it one local government, one product in Nigeria. The NEDEP program is predicated under the one local government, one product initiative, which we borrowed from Japan. We experimented with that idea in Kano and Niger, and it was a very big success. The pilot program was implemented by SMEDEN along with some Japanese who came into Nigeria to help the government pilot the programs and see whether they can be able to be implemented in Nigeria. It was after the success that we decided to commence full implementation in every local government area in Nigeria. So from board level, we are going to harness the potentials of Nigerians to the local government level, to the state level, and now we are making it national. So we have even gone beyond senatorial level. We have gone into 22 states in Nigeria and identified areas of competitive and comparative advantages. We have documented all our discoveries in all the local government areas in 22 states into a book. The book was distributed to people who attended the official presidential launching of the programs by Mr. President. And when the remaining 14 states and the FCT are covered, there is going to be another publication which will be showcasing the areas of competitive and comparative advantages that Nigerians have in every local government area that can be harnessed and developed into enterprises along the voluntary line of those areas identified by SMEDA and the National Bureau of Statistics.
All right, we have Adeni on the line from Kaduna. Let's listen to Adeni, and then we'll go to Chief Chukwudiobi. Adeni from Kaduna, if you're with us, go ahead. Hello, Adeni.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Adeni. Yeah, my question goes straight to the Bank of Industry. I have a poultry farm. So I went to the office in Kaduna here to see how they can assist. Since on 10th of July 2013, I applied. They gave me all the necessary requirements, which I fulfilled. Actually, I was looking for a loan of 4 million naira. But instead of Bank of industries to assist me in providing more jobs. They make me lost to reduce my work because I have to process my CFO for 4 million naira. The Minister of Land came to my farm, assessed my farm, asked me to pay valuation fee of 300,000, which I did. Take my deed of assignment, which I sold Bank of Industry, and said yes, this is acceptable. Bank of Industry collected the photocopy, went for search, and came back that my CFO is customer work. Since July 2013, I have 400 laying beds, want to expand to 1,005. But now, presently, I only have 200 beds in my bank. Reduce my workers to 1. Bank of Industry have no really helped me. They make me lose my workers, sold a part of my land in case of processing CFO. And CFOs used to take about 2 or 3 years to process. So I don't know what. Now they are not telling me to reduce the loan to 2 million that has no collector. That's what I'm trying to do. Two Smeda in Kaduna. So I don't know if the man in the Bank of Industry can say something to this.
Okay. All right, Adeni.
Well, he's talking about the poultry project. I am not too sure if my colleagues will process an application for a poultry project in Kaduna, because that's primary production. If it's value addition, if it's processing the birds, yes, we can get involved with that. If it's the poultry, I want to believe that that comes under the purview of the Bank of Agriculture, the Bank of Industry. If you could speak with me after the program, then I'll be able to assist him better or guide him better, but I'm not quite sure of what he's really talking about.
Okay.
I'm sorry, he wasn't quite audible as well.
Right. Okay, well, yes, Chief.
I just want to come to one point about this blaming the industrialists and all the time, all the banks, both BOI and the commercial banks, for failure of projects and for whatever. You see, it's very unfortunate, really, that we carry all the blame on us when really it shouldn't be the case. If we leave out all other issues aside, like the difficulties everybody faces, the power thing, the transportation, and so many other problems that beset us in the effort to, and come down to the real issue of this then if, as I raised the issue, and I want it to be really attended to, this developmental function of BOI. In Brazil, for example, they use, because they have the same interest rate problem as we have, but the government or the agencies, they use the developmental banks to further the development of their industries, and that's where they are today. And we expect that if Mr. President wants to his project, this launching to be of effect, I think he has to persuade the Bank of Industry to tune down and actually go to the benefit of it, but to demand whatever best performance of feasibility study. I said, well, this can be written, but if one day can write a very beautiful one, but cannot follow it up at the end, the project will collapse. But let me say one thing about this collapse of it. Do you remember one issue where many banks collapsed in the past, in the early banks? Yeah. What saved the Bank of the North? What saved the Bank of the North was that the military then anyway. Besides, they appoint David Mark as head of a committee to recover the debts. What did the president tell them that time? You give ultimatum, either you pay or you go to jail. They recover the money. That's what saved the Bank of the North. So let me just, if we apply the same principle today, this blaming industrialists will not come out because people will pay up. The reason why people don't pay up is because they know there is no reaction from anybody. That's why a lot of money is being stolen in this country anyway.
Okay, let's quickly go to Onitsha and hear from Isaiah, who's on the line, and then we'll come back to the studio. Isaiah, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Please, I've been watching the program. I have an observation and comment to make on the Nigerian automotive policies because the economy is formed essentially by the middle class, and the lower class has benefit from the economy. So with this policy being protected by the government, automatically we know that some people are fortunate about it. But at the same time, in developed world, even in the US, they are equally dependent on cars manufactured from Japan and other European countries. So we have to be careful so that people will not be suffocated by policy, because the government is the highest spender in the economy. When you put up all the money that is being said is a capital flight, you discover that the government is essentially too much of the potato. So I'm of the opinion, if the global production should be recognized by the government, allow the people to be dependent on second-hand bags for their own benefit so that the middle class can exist.
Okay.
So that's just what I want to say. My pastor told me said something, because I know he worked in Oxford. He said that Nigeria cannot effectively go into car manufacturing. Rather, it should think of rubber industry, because by components, you can at least leverage on our area of competitive advantage through rubber production.
All right.
Because things are, at the end of the day, we have to push the manufacturing of cars. So Nigeria, technologically, you should be very careful, because in Japan today, they are talking of the chargeable car.
Okay.
And when we are
fine. I think, Isaiah, we got your point. So
at the end of the day, we have to.
Yes. Thank you, Isaiah. We got your point. So,
Cyril.
Yes.
You see, I don't want this industrial revolution to fail in any way. And if we want to tell ourselves the home truth, is we must talk about how finances will be made available at all costs.
Okay.
Even if we're going to last till the end of this program,
well,
we must talk about finance.
On the
but
issue of finance.
Let me just ask Dr. Busari one issue.
Yes, sir.
You remember some years back, some small-scale processing plant for sugar was given out to some farmers.
Yeah.
Are they still operating?
They are not operating.
And you know why they are dead?
Yes, I do.
Okay, why are they dead?
And they have nothing to do with finance.
Okay. What happened?
What happened is that, you see, the level at which they operate is such that even the technology that they brought in, they call them the open pan system, technology. They are bloody inefficient. Forgive me for using the word. You are talking of a 30 TCD, a plant that will crush 30 tons of cane per day. At the end of crushing season, it will produce about 250 tons of sugar. And how do you break even at that level? They do not have economy of scale. That's just the point.
Yeah, but I remember very well at the same time that they have some financial problems for the working capital.
Yeah, they
have
do.
that. But you see, if they have working capital issue, that comes back to the same issue of finances. So my point is, please, we should all be careful.
Okay, we'll return to the finance issue, but let's hear from Igor, who's calling from Abia.
Yes.
And we'll still come back to the issue of finance. There are still so many other things to talk about beyond finance, but Igor from Abia is on the line. Hello? Is he still there? All right. Okay.
Yes. And the other issue, of course, I don't want to get into the issue of fiscal policy, because fiscal policy along the way will equally affect whatever this industrial revolution is all about. Because if you don't give them the real protection they demand and they deserve, then it's equally going to hit them hard.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear from Haji Wai.
Well, it's true that everybody's talking about financing. I'll give you an example of the Bank of Industry. In the last 8 years, we realized that the development process in any country is driven by the public sector, the private sector, the international development community, in other words, your international partners, as well as community-based organizations and NGOs. In the context of Nigeria, the economy is still largely public sector driven. So we entered into partnership with state governments. And we've done this successfully in 18 states. We've been appealing to all the state governors to see how we can partner with them to help develop SMEs in particular, MSMEs in particular, in their respective states. A good example is Gombe State. Between 2006 and 2011, we appealed to the governor at that time, but it didn't work out. But then, the incumbent governor, Alhaji Dankwambo, was sworn in May 2011. And by August 2011, we signed an MOU with Gombe State government, under which we launched a 1 billion naira MSME scheme, matched on a 50% basis, 500 million by the Bank of Industry and 500 million from the Gombe State government. We now develop a robust communication support program for that partnership. Radio, television, essentially. And within 1 year, we were able to attract applications to the tune of 3 billion naira. What did we do? We went back to the governor to say, look, your people, there have been suppressed demand for credit in your state over the years. Now, based on the partnership and the communication program, backing it up, we've been able to stimulate applications to the tune of 3 billion. Instantly, he agreed that we should increase the size of the fund to 3 billion. And we've continued to assist projects. And the performance has been 100% in Gombe State.
Right.
Kano State, the same thing. Over the years, we tried to penetrate Kano State. But Dr. Kwankwaso became governor in 2011. We entered into a partnership with him, right? And they launched the proceeds from their sales into the cooperative account. And where a member defaults, they can always fall back on that account and make sure that you service the exposure to the defaulting member of that group. So that's what we mean by the mutually guarantee one another.
Well, let me ask you a question. What of this hypothecation issue, what you call hypothecation and lending, where you use the material purchase or the equipment? You were talking about equipment, yeah. I'm very concerned about the automotive in particular. If the company manufacturer then buys equipment and then you pay for it, and then you hold to that equipment until he has finished paying, that's to serve as collateral. That's what you call, is it not a hypothecation, so you call it?
Well, we're looking at the fixed asset coverage, right? Most of the policies and procedures in the Bank of Industry today were informed also by experience. The Bank of Industry owes its origin to the Nigerian Industrial Development Bank that was established in 1964. So in other words, as an institution, we've been in development financing and development banking for the past 50 years. And I have served that institution for 24 years, right? Under NIDB and under NBCI and under NEFUND, what you are talking about used to obtain. If you, for example, grant a credit of 100 million naira to a company and you bring in plant and machinery worth 100 million naira, immediately the plant and machinery is installed and commissioned, it begins to depreciate. If the company defaults, even if you sell the plant and machinery, you will not realize 100 million naira. That's one. Two, in the past, we've had situations where promoters or entrepreneurs didn't put in their best to ensure the success of the businesses. When you don't have anything at stake, you're not likely to be committed. But if you have something to lose, then you'll give it your best shot. In the past, they'll just walk away at the slightest challenge. Then they'll say, come and take your equipment.
Right.
By the time you get there, they would have cannibalized the plant and machinery, and you're not even able to realize. And this is not sustainable.
No. I don't accept that argument. If we punish...
It's not an argument, it's a reality, I'm telling you. It's not an argument.
Because the people we are left to walk away.
Okay, you are allowed
to
sanctions to address the problem. Yes. Okay, let's hear from Ibrahim, who's calling in from Ilori. Ibrahim, go ahead. Hello, Ibrahim.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Please, I'm speaking from Ilori.
Go on.
I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, we are.
Yes, please, I would like to appreciate Alhaji Abdul Qadir.
Thank you.
With the way he is speaking, I think he understands what is really happening in this sector. You see,
oh dear.
You see, as far as this revolution is concerned, I think there's not so much sincerity in this issue.
Ibrahim, there is a holdback. You should turn down the volume of your TV.
I am one of their I am one of their customers.
Okay. One of the customers of...
You see, I have all what they demanded for. Just as Alhaji has said, these people, why are they trying to shift their responsibilities to the commercial banks? They don't need to shift their responsibilities to the commercial banks. These commercial banks are not there for the masses. As far as the commercial banks people are concerned, after having met all what they requested, at the end of the issue, after wasting my time and effort, they now told me this is a new business, they don't finance new business. As I am speaking with you now, I think I've approached nothing less than 3 or 4 banks. All they are saying is that they are not ready to sponsor a new business. You see, what we are really talking about is that let us emulate the BRICS nations. These BRICS nations we are talking about, I mean Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They finance new projects, they encourage new projects, and with all this, they grow. I have already completed my factory. I took them there. They saw everything. I have other collaterals. They verified my CFO, which is very, very genuine. Unfortunately, I end up with, we don't finance new projects. The commercial bank gave us the offer. They now said we should go and get a bank guarantee. The commercial bank people they are pushing us to will never help in this issue we are talking about.
Okay. All right.
So, in creating a new business, once one is able to meet up with the BOI requirements, why do they need to frustrate that person to go and look for a bank guarantee, which is, as a result, to end up with nothing?
Okay, well, you've made the point. Let's get the response from this end of the program. Right, thank you very much, Ibrahim.
You see, right. I think if this government really wants to make this Marshall Plan succeed, it's very simple. Let's see what the roadmap looks like, and then I know that through the levies that the government has generated over the years, because since 2005 I have been involved in developing all the tariffs in this country, and I know virtually most of the items that attract levies, ranging from 5% to some extent 95% today. And there, the government can generate nothing less than half a trillion, 500 billion, can be generated through this levy. And the money is there. I would have assumed if they are really serious about it, this money should be deposited with the central bank. There will be an MOU between the central bank and the SME SMEDAN, and let them see all the business plan that comes from SMEDAN. Once they are satisfied, they should be given the authority to be releasing this money to those who are really going to be involved in this, until when BOI are really ready to sort out themselves with the Ministry of Justice, because they are saying now that their problem is Ministry of Justice. They cannot give any waiver until they are able to sort things with the Ministry of Justice. Until they do that, not to waste time, this money should be given out by the government through the central bank, and loans should be given out to those who are going to start small and medium industries. Micro industries, in most cases, are agriculturally based today. And the agro-based industries can be handled with 1 billion to be shared in states, 2 billion, 3 billion. These are agro-based industries.
Okay. Let's hear from Jude. We have Jude from Imo. He's been trying to get through all along. Jude from Imo. Just let's quickly go over to Imo. Jude. Do we still have Jude? Hello, Jude.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Please go ahead. Make it
good evening, my
Yes, good evening. Go ahead. Right,
I speak from the Chisok in Imo State.
Yes, go on.
Before we can be dependent and stop the importation of goods from abroad, basic infrastructures like water, electricity, raw materials should be provided, and the development of our steel industry should be given serious attention. The incomplete attitudinal change by Nigeria in having preference for goods from abroad and temptations ones should be jettisoned or should be involved. The government should equally give long-term loans at small scale to small, medium and local and large-scale industries with very long interest, with long interest and long periods of moratorium to enable them to produce at lower cost when compared to ones from abroad. And these loans, not much equity will be demanded. Import duties should be increased for imported goods to dissuade Nigerians from wanting to import all their needs from abroad, and this will increase their cost. Foreigners should be brought to promote some of our local industries and the necessary technological transfer involved, so that after some time, Nigerians should be left to play these industries after having embarked on the technological know-how.
Right.
Then the Consumer Protection Association, NAFDAC and other regulatory agencies should ensure that goods manufactured in the country meet international standards and may so be at top Nigeria's strength for foreign goods should have been reduced and our industry should have been helped and grow to a certain level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, we still have, the issue of financing at the back of our minds. But let's move to another aspect of the Industrial Revolution Plan. We'll return to the issue of financing before we finish up, and that has to do with patronizing made-in-Nigeria goods. Now, how best can this happen? You've heard one or two people make comments about that, restricting the importation of goods that can be produced here, and ensuring that those industries which produce goods here are sustained.
Yes, let me say here that way back as 2006, I was the first to obtain approval from President Olusegun Obasanjo on patronizing made-in-Nigeria goods in all government organizations. He gave me that approval and minuted to the SGF at that time, Ekaite. That was done, but unfortunately, no any ministry, neither any government agency was adhering to it.
Okay.
So you find that everybody is importing anything. You go to most of the ceremonies you find imported juice. I stop the importation of juice in this country. I make sure that local juice is patronized. I stop the importation of Takumbo motorcycles in this country. I make sure that new motorcycles are in the country at a cheaper price. So I cut a lot of these things. But the most important thing is the government is virtually over 60–70% of the consumer of what is made. And if the government cannot patronize it and really respect whatever the president says about that, then it will be a shame. Because I still see some of the industries or some of the government agencies importing new Hilux rather than patronizing what's made by the hub in Lagos or by Innocent in Nnewi. And this is a critical area. You can even go to Kano. They're dying. They produce pickups.
Jude from Lagos, quickly. Jude from Lagos.
Yeah, I want to ask the DG of Media, his plans towards development of industrial development centers in the country, and how do they intend, or his agents, how do they intend to achieve one local government, one product of the Mr. President?
Right. Okay.
My second question goes to the gentleman from the DOI. In NAFDAC, they have a small scale desk that helps small businesses to register their products in this country. But in DOI, there is nothing like that. The only the conditions they gave in DOI is not favorable to micro businesses in the country. The only people that benefit from their conditions is the multinational companies, big companies in the country. My proposal and my association proposal has been DOI for a long time now, debating the conditions. You ask for 1 million or 10 million, they are trying to push you to go for 1 million or cooperative 500,000. How do we include this kind of thing to use it to achieve the 5 million jobs Mr. President is proposing to achieve by 2050? If the micro businesses cannot access through the DOI, my special thanks go to the formal advisor to Mr. President President Olusegun Obasanjo on manufacturing. He has spoken well. He has represented the interests of micro businesses in this country. Sir, keep it on.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and that is my question.
Thank you. And the issues are straightforward. You had these questions.
He spoke on trying to know our plan on the development of our industrial development centers in the country. For our information and that of our viewers, Nigeria, the federal government has about 23 industrial development centers spread across the country. And currently, we are in the process of, there is a ministerial committee set up by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment that is looking at all our industrial development centers with a view to ensure that they are properly developed so that they can be put into proper utilization all over the country. That is being done not by government solely, but by trying to go into collaboration and partnership with private establishments and concerns, so that the problem that led to their abandonment in the past can be properly taken care of. I think between now and the end of probably April or May, we will see a situation whereby all the IDCs are going to be concessioned to private companies so that they can be properly repaired and their actual utilization will commence. And in addition, we're equally exploring the possibility of going into partnership with individual state governments where the IDCs are located. In Kano, we have a collaboration with the Kano state government that is trying to join hands with Medan and the Ministry of Industry to combat our IDC in Tiga into a leather cluster so that we can be able to see the processing of leather in that IDC in mass quantity. Kano, for your information, is a leather production state, just like Katsina. And in Oshun, I mentioned here in one of the previous programs, we equally have a collaborative arrangement with the Oshun State government. They have virtually taken over the IDC, not in totality, but they are doing their best to ensure that the IDC is properly utilized. They have invited an Italian firm, and they have started the production of shoes that have been patronized by people around Oshobo, Oshun State, Oyo State, and even Lagos. And we intend to go. We equally have another partnership arrangement on the IDC in Abeokuta. A private company is collaborating with Medan, and the IDC is equally being put into proper utilization. So I think with this collaboration that we are going into with individuals and private establishments of making sure that our IDCs are properly utilized, I think Nigerians will begin to see the benefit of those centers. And on how we intend to actualize the one local government, one product, I have said it here in this program that we have gone more than 70% in identifying our areas of comparative and competitive advantages, identifying products in every local government area in which those local government areas have comparative and competitive advantages. The intention is for SMEDAN to tutor Nigerians in those local government areas on how they can be able to set up enterprises on value addition along the value chain line of those products. And if no local government area in Nigeria is going to be left out, we intend to cover the entire country. So I think we are well on course on that particular aspect.
Right.
Yeah, you see, we are in a new world, and we shouldn't give our people false hopes. We must be ready to bite the bullet, and let us be realistic. In the Bank of Industry, like I said, we've been in business for 50 years, and we have the best set of professional staff any country can boast of. In engineering, in finance, in accounting, in economics, name it. And we have a number of staff who've been there for more than 30 years, even 40 years, up to 40 years, in financing across various sectors of the country. And we benchmark ourselves against international best practice. You mentioned Brazil several times. We've been to BNDES, which is the development bank in Brazil. We compare notes with them. We've been to KfW in Germany. We've been to IDC in South Africa, DBS in South Africa as well. In other words, DFIs in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, and all over the world. And credit is credit anywhere, no matter how you look at it. We were talking about some of the factors of credit the last time. For a project to succeed, you must make sure that it is well packaged. There is no point to set up business today, it collapses. A good credit officer or a good financial institution is not judged by how much it's able to throw at a project. You are judged by how that project performs, or that investment performs 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. And that is what is sustainable, and that is what can endure. We don't have to politicize this process of saying, give people political loan. You raise their hopes.
All right.
Collapse.
Let's go through from Anache. This probably would be the because there are still so many issues here that need to be tackled. But Anache is calling from Kebbi. Go ahead. Hello, Anache. Well,
hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes. I'm Comrade Anache calling from Kebbi.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Kebbi State. Yes, the issue of industrial revolution always starts from fun. The procedure and process of assessing this becomes very difficult to common Nigerians.
Okay.
In the process
right, Anache, so we're back to this issue
many
of
people
funding.
get access to the fund.
Right.
I think industrial revolution becomes a reality, but in a situation whereby you cannot get access to the fund.
Fine.
Whether you establish a small business, you don't have financial support.
Okay.
So for us, we
get it loud and clear. It's access to finance. That's the issue that's been raised here by so many of us. So thank you for calling in. It's still about access to finance. Sorry, Anache, we already have that, except if you have a different angle to that. But that's the issue that's been trashed now. So, yes, we will come back to it. But gentlemen, I want us to go back to the issue of made in Nigeria products.
Yes. The issue of made in Nigeria products is very critical. But what are we looking at when it comes to the issue of made in Nigeria? Are we looking at consumable items? Are we looking at hardware? It all depends on what we are looking at. But the most important thing is, if the government itself is ready to support the made in Nigeria products by making sure that every sector of the government patronize it.
Okay.
Obviously, what is left for the individuals to do, whether they do or not, this industry will succeed.
Now, what I get from most of what we have discussed tonight is that there is still out there a lot of knowledge about the NIRP. And I want to appeal to Cyril that we need to have more, programs of this type to actually get the NIRP out there to the general Nigerian public. Most of the issues that have been raised have been actually resolved in the NIRP. Take the issue of patronage of local products. Even at the launch of the NIRP, Mr. President talked about it, the Honorable Minister talked about it, Governor Obi talked about what they are doing. So that is virtually most governments in Nigeria now understand that, and it is what the, among the strategies that the NIRP calls enablers. These are the things that will improve the business climate, the investment climate. If you, one of the callers said we should allow, council coming on to the local people are able to, manufacture their goods. If you do that, they will kill local industries. We have to kind of protect the nascent industries, let them grow, let them achieve economy of scale before you can open them to, outside competition. So the government now in the NIRP has said it that all agencies of government are to really patronize, made in Nigerian goods. Because without that, it will be difficult to get the industries to, be able to acquire the capacity, improve efficiency, to be able to produce sufficiently to compete with the goods from outside. So it's on, and already a number of state governments are already doing it. Now, this issue of it was raised by one of the one of the callers. This issue of getting funds, taxing the business community. Again, it's one of the areas that the people are complaining about doing business in Nigeria. Yeah. There are multiplicity of taxes, and if you go back to taxing them to be able to raise some levies to be able to set aside for SMEs, it's making business expensive in Nigeria. Already, like the BOI said and Smidan said, there are funds. It's just that people who want to access those funds have to be able to package their business in the best way to be able to access them.
Right. Patronizing made in Nigeria goods, and some of these industries can actually produce goods.
That is an area that every sincere Nigerian who has the interest of the country at heart should be very passionate about. And I have had the opportunity of making several calls on the government and Nigerians who are equally who have weighty views on national issues, to find a way of encouraging the patronage of made in Nigeria goods. So long as we are not able to get it right in that direction, definitely will continue to be in the doldrums. And I'm happy to inform you that the enunciation of the NIRP and the NETE programs are part of the solutions to this yearning for patronage of made in Nigeria goods. There is now a holistic approach whereby more and more Nigerian products are going to be produced, and standardization equally being looked into by the government, so that whatever that is going to be produced in Nigeria will meet the required standard to be able to compete with other products produced in other countries that are already developed. And the protection people are talking about on the government to provide protection measures to Nigerian companies, it has a limit because we are definitely confined or rather constrained by some international agreements like the WTO. Definitely we cannot go into restrictions and all that, but encouraging development of made in Nigeria goods is going to play a very major role in ensuring that goods are produced in Nigeria in large quantity and their standards are equally okay, and there is need to be the political will should equally be there. It's one thing for the government to make a pronouncement that establishments and agencies should patronize made in Nigeria goods, and it's quite another. Follow that policy.
Chief Chukwudi, this is your turf now.
Yes. It's only in Nigeria that people say that their mother's food is not sweet. other countries. You can't hear it anywhere else. I think it's just an excuse we give, when you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name. If you make these goods, export it to Benin Republic, bring it back, it becomes important. So is there something else we are thinking that is wrong? There's something wrong with our side. Yeah. That's where we have to start. And it was already said that government is the most breaks this law more than anybody else, because we've seen even BOI confirming that they go together with state governments to provide it, because they have the money. They are the greatest. They are holding the money of the country in cash and kind. The average Nigerian hasn't got that buying power. That's why all this is happening. If Nigerians have been elevated to a level, to have strong buying power, this is not happen. They will go direct to them. They are not going to us now because we are small. We cannot afford to give the collateral. And I have been quarreling with this idea of collateral, because you find that the people who have the collateral, those who have been trading, who didn't start manufacturing, or who must have, either you've been a politician before, acquired a lot of money, or you are a pastor, then you have acquired a lot of money, or you are doing business 419 or whatever, acquired a lot of money. You are the people who have money. Then back in those who go to them, and they have collateral, and then they can access these funds. But if you are an honest Nigerian with your brain that you develop an issue, they say go and get collateral. This is one of them. So I am saying, if there is sanction for importing, for example, this government that imports, are they smuggling these things that they are buying? Are they not passing through the ports? So is there nowhere, but does it mean that there's no law or whatever regulation that binds government to obey their own laws? Because the evidence of our law in this country is in the breach. We break the laws without to accept it. So I think we have to start from the top.
All right. It's
corruption
suggested that you must have A, B, and C on ground before you put a stop to the importation of goods. It
never happens anywhere in the world. Nigerians must learn to make some sacrifice. Yeah. You cannot just every day say you have everything. I give an example in the plastic industry. We're now fighting it out over whether to kill element and then start putting all the raw materials we need, because they say, oh, this hasn't got the MFI, melting index of 0.00 something. And these are all talks in order to load their invoices. And because a lot of people are not interested in this country, unfortunately. Let us be very frank. And I call it economic sabotage. If people prefer to import instead of buy what is local. Therefore, it is not an acceptable option. If government says, oh, as far as we are concerned, you must buy what is available. That's what other countries do. They buy it. There's no discussion. If our president, down to the assembly members, patronize what is in Nigeria, their families will patronize and everybody else will. You cannot, remember sorry to say it, the military were even more patriotic, because they used only made in Nigeria vehicles at the time, and they made it a law. The first in the nation had a Nigerian vehicle, and all of them. So why should it, the politicians or the civilians, better the word, civilians, then change to saying, no, we cannot make these things in Nigeria. In the 80s, we made Peugeot cars that were acceptable everywhere. Volkswagen were acceptable. In fact, my quarrel with them that time was, they say it has to be Nigerian made car. I said, what is made in Nigeria? What is Nigerian made? If you go to the East countries in Europe, Eastern Europe, all the vehicles that they are riding are all copied from either Fiat or Volkswagen, whatever. All you need to give it your own name. Yeah. If we remove the lion in the Peugeot, after we have achieved at least 50-60%
local content,
local content substitution, all we need to do is to remove the lion and put a mosquito. It becomes Nigerian, whatever. You can say a cadabra. When the name you give it, it becomes your car. You cannot reinvent the wheel today. You cannot start from the scratch to start to develop the wheel. No, it's no longer possible. So I think we are just begging the question. Let us please, for goodness sake, love our country. Allow our children to have jobs. Do you know why I am still alive? The reason is simple. If I die and go to God, He would drive me back, say, go back to Nigeria and go and finish your assignment. The automotive thing on the plastic, which is our assignment. So please.
I suppose this question must be
very
put to the panelists here. It's been said over and over again.
I have not answered this question. You have not asked me this question.
No. You have talked about local. You started the talk of local patronage. Yes, you started.
I do not agree that the state and the federal government are working in tandem. They are working differently.
Oh, really?
Yes, completely. Take one example. Virtually every state donates vehicles to the police. Can you tell me one state that decide to buy their vehicles from Innocent or from Zahab or from Kano and donate to the police? They all buy either Hilux or Ford. Why? Because they do not know what the federal government is doing. So this is something that the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry needs to meet with Mr. President and Council, talk to him, so that anytime they're having a National Council of States, he needs to go and talk to all the governors at the National Council of State to realize and understand that we appreciate what they are doing by supporting the police. But please and please, if you are buying anything for either the police or any arm of government or any organization, please patronize Made in Nigeria. If they do that, it will go a very long way.
All right. Back to the issue. It's been said over and over again that there's no paucity of ideas and fantastic projects and plans in Nigeria. All you need to do is dig up anything from the last 20, 25 years and call it another name and it's as good as new. But the issue here is how do you sustain what you have put? What is there to sustain this project? Tomorrow somebody else walks in and if Dr. Aganga is not there tomorrow, how do you ensure someone walks in and says, look, this is an idea that can be sustained?
Definitely the ideas, the programs that Mr. Ganga is putting in place for the country are programs that are consistent. They are programs that are well thought out, and they are programs that every Nigerian appreciates. One very important feature of our meeting here today is the fact that everybody appreciates the value of these two programs. I've never had any caller condemning any of these programs. Right from the time of its launching by the President, every Nigerian has been lauding the two programs. And people are lauding them because they are all encompassing, they are holistic in nature, and they have been institutionalized in some establishments that are going to ensure their actual implementation. If you take the program, for instance, it is a program that is well thought out. It is a program that is domiciled in not one agency. It's not even domiciled in the ministry. It's domiciled in agencies that have direct implementation role to play, so that no single Nigerian or no single agency can claim ownership of that particular program. It is implemented by SMEDAN. It is equally implemented by ITF and BOI. The three of them were brought together for the first time, and they are working in synergy so that there will be seamless implementation of that program. And there is equally an awareness that is being generated all over the country, so that when the level of awareness is very high, it will be very, very hard for anybody coming after Aganga to put a stop to that particular program.
I don't share that view. If there is no law from the House to enact it as something to be continued, it will fail. And therefore, I don't know if the presidential launch is already a law or they need a parliamentary approval. I think there must be an enactment of law in our parliament to constitute as a thing that every it has happened.
Well, just like the DG of SMEDAN said, a number of us were involved in the articulation and design of these two programs. And as we saw on the day of the launch, attested to by Dangote, the president of MAN, president of NASME, there was wide consultation. And there's a lot of buy-in, considerable buy-in. of critical stakeholders in Nigeria and our development partners. And the government did say, the minister did say that in order to ensure sustainability and success implementation, they are trying to make sure that these policies and processes are driven by institutions, and then they will be backed up eventually by legislation. Once they're backed up by legislation, then it will be subject to the whims and caprices of anybody.
That's the legislation we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the Senate and the House has never, they have not said a word.
And that's what, like we said, is equally in the pipeline.
Yes, in the pipeline, exactly.
And there are two very important aspects that are equally left out. Nobody mentioned it here, and I should be in the forefront of mentioning it. To make sure that the programs have come to stay and they're equally institutionalized, there are two very important councils that are going to be set up to ensure the implementation of the program. At the state level, there's going to be the State Council of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. And that council is going to be chaired by the state governor, irrespective of party affiliation. That underscores the fact that the program is for Nigerians, not for any individual. And at the national level, there is going to be a National Council of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, which is going to be chaired by the Vice President. And it will draw membership from every state of the country. The governors, the members of the private sector, other major stakeholders in MSME, subsector of the nation's economy are going to contribute membership in the National Council. When that council is in place, definitely there won't be anybody coming to say that program will stop tomorrow because the initiator of the program is no longer there.
Just as it is for NEDEB, it is for the entire NRP itself. And we tend to also forget that there are a lot of sectors that contribute to the NRP. The sugar sector is there, the auto is there, the garments, cotton garments and textile is there. All of them now have amendment acts in the National Assembly that are going through legislative processes. Each of them are being seen by institutions. So once you can lay the structure and institutionalize all these policies, we believe they will be sustainable.
All right. And then to ensure, you realize that that program was transmitted live on NTA, on Channels, on AIT, streamed on so many social media, and we are going to sustain this.
Okay. Well,
moving on.
Whether they listen, it is. You ask a question: how can this be sustained? Whether Aganga is there or not? Right. I can tell you, when Aganga is still in the office, this thing is bound to be abused. But it's only after the president in council to make sure that waivers are minimized. Unless waivers are minimized, there's going to be a flouted abuse of this patronized Made in Nigeria product.
We must go now, and just one thing left, because it's been mentioned over and over and over again, and I'll give the Bank of the Industry Executive Director here the chance to allay those fears. It's been suggested that it's all going to be about the financing not being accessed. You want to reassure Nigerians that will be
any viable project will attract funding, provided it's viable, either domestically or internationally. We know that Dangote, MTN and Co, they're able to raise funds on international capital markets once it's viable. And domestically too, we are giving assurance that if you approach the Bank of Industry with viable projects, we will finance you. Our risk asset is growing up to about 180 billion. They are not ghosts, they are human beings. And it continues to grow.
All right, we'll have to leave it there tonight.
There's too much grammar being spoken in this country. The realities are always at the sideline. So I don't really want to be associated with this type of dramatic expression of things that are
we thank you very much. We have to leave it there for tonight. I would like to say thank you so much to Dr. Lateef Busari, Executive Secretary, National Sugar Development Council. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Alhaji Bature Umar Basari, Director General CEO of SMEDAN, thank you for being here. Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadri, it's nice having you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And Alhaji Wahid Olaguju, Executive Director of Business Development, Bank of Industry. Thanks for coming back home.
Thank you very much too.
I always emphasize that because we can always claim. Right. And Chief David Valentine Chukwudio, Chairman, Motor Vehicle Manufacturers and Miscellaneous Assembly Group, we thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. It's always a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you very much indeed.
And that's it. We also like to say a big thank you to all of you who stayed with us on this program, especially those who called in, share their thoughts and